on this computer. There we go. Hey, Charlene, thank you so much for taking some time to help us with this decision. So just to give you the context, our Rotary Club of Lethbridge was looking to become a registered charity. Then there was some feedback that said, well, wait a minute, why would we do that when we can get almost the same effect with way less input, way less hassles if we just set up a fund, a self-directed fund through the community foundation? So what I want to do is have you explain to us where those differences lie so that we can make a good decision and then move forward. From all the feedback I'm hearing, the foundation fund would be way simpler, way easier than our being a charity on our own. So illuminate us.
So being a charity on your own, you would have to apply. It's a lot of work. I have no doubt that Rotary would be successful in receiving charitable status. A lot of time, but you need to basically maintain that. It's not as simple as getting charitable status. I don't know if Rotary is audited annually, but that would be a requirement, is to have an annual audit to maintain your status. CRA also regulates you as they regulate us because we do have status. The advantage to coming to us, there are many. Number one, it's very simple. We sign off a fund agreement. You guys would sign up a donor advised fund agreement, which means your money cannot be spent without advising the community foundation as to where it is to go. So we can't arbitrarily state, oh, we'll give it here. You have to tell us that. You must advise us. We charge a 1% fee. That is all inclusive for everything that you would need from us. The checks would come from us. Your fund would be invested in our professionally managed investment fund with Phillips Hager and North, and benefit from that. And then it's pooled. You guys would still have the authority over that fund. So as a club, you would make the decision where you want your grants to go from that fund. The gift that you make, your contributions, are invested in perpetuity. So it's an endowment fund. You cannot, so if you give us $100,000, you cannot call me and say we want to give away $50,000. The money that you're awarding in grants is the investment income that your fund earns. The rest is endowed in perpetuity, which is a legacy piece, but it's also a sustainability piece. If you continue to grow this fund through the years, the larger the fund, the more grants it can generate. With us, we can write tax receipts. So anyone who's making a contribution to your fund, and anyone can contribute to it, only the club can determine where the money goes. So anyone can make a contribution to your fund. We tax receipt them. So again, there's no paperwork for you. That's all part of your 1%. That money goes into the investment fund. People can leave gifts in their wills. They can do RIF payments. We can even facilitate publicly traded securities through our investment firm. And if you have a fund with us, we don't charge an additional fee on that to make those. So if somebody in your club wanted to trade some securities, we could facilitate that and it would go directly into your fund. They receive a tax receipt, but they also don't pay the capital gains on that trade.
Okay, so donor advised fund, we collectively, we and anybody else who wants to support that fund puts money into the community foundation. Community foundation receipts each of the donors. So there might be 1,000 donors to get 100 grand in there. Each of them kick in $1,000. Each of those 1,000 people get their tax deductible receipt from the community foundation. But absolutely, we can only invest in the community, basically the return on that fund, right?
Investment income. So we actually work with the CRA's 3.5% minimum disbursement quota. That is a minimum. The upside to going with the minimum fund is that in a year like this year, where investments are being hit hard, your fund is protected. I call it, it's padded a bit, right? So last year we had a 15% rate of return. We gave out 3.5% from funds. We kept 1%. So that funds still earn about 10.5%. That money stays with your fund to pad it up for a negative investment year.
Okay. So now,
however, sorry, if you said to me in a year 15%, we want to do 10%. Okay, 3.5 is the minimum. You just can't dip into your initial investment.
Understood. Okay. But there is another option where you have it where it's not just the endowment portion that could be invested in the community, right? How does that one work? Like the auto dealers, the Auto Dealer Association, how does that one work?
Okay, so the Auto Dealers Association works with us to support. They have an endowment fund with us, but they bring additional money to the table. So Rotary could say, we would like to work with you as the auto dealers do, and we'd like to bring $50,000 to the table. What we do with the auto dealers is they literally sit in on our grants committee meetings, they review all of the applications, and they choose exactly where they want their money to go and how much. So they'll look at an application and say, we want to give this one $2,000, and then we give it more through our community priorities funds. So maybe the overall application is $15,000. They do 2, we do 13, the group gets 15. When groups receive a grant from us through our community priorities and our rural life funds, they receive a plaque, and we put the Lethbridge Auto Dealers Association name on that plaque, and they actually award those grants at our celebration.
And I've seen that. I've been at your events for that. In that case, though, they're investing more than just the endowment part of their endowment fund, right?
What they're technically doing is a flow through. So they have the endowment, they can pull the 3.5, which they've done, so they've come to the table and said, all right, here's $50,000, but we also want to pull from the endowment the 3.5%. Let's say it's $55,000 then. So $50,000 would be the flow through. So it's literally, they give me a check that goes into the bank and it goes right back out. And then the other part would get the 3.5 would come from their fund.
Okay. So that would be a little more complicated, that besides the amount that's in the fund, in the Rotary fund, let's call it, this would have to be additional funds that you're bringing in and say, yes, this part, we want it just to flow through, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And you'd still get the same oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So there's on that one, we don't charge a fee. We charge a fee on their endowment fund. So if you came to the table with $50,000, $50,000 would go right back out to the community. We don't take 1% off of that. That would have to be approved by my board of directors. I don't see that being an issue because everybody wants to support the community, and that's a good thing.
Got it. Okay. And is there a minimum amount of funds that you need to start a fund with the community foundation?
So we have what we call an emerging fund, which is $1,000, and it's a maximum of a 10-year commitment. Some people will do $1,000 a year for 10 years. Some people do $2,000 a year for 5. I just had a couple do 2 years at $5,000. So once your fund is at $10,000, we consider it a permanent fund versus emerging, and it will not grant until it hits $10,000.
Okay, got it. So there might be a building stage to get to that minimum 10,000 before you got something to do. Got it.
Correct.
And what is the fund, the community, pardon me, the Auto Dealers Fund, what is that one called again? That one's not called?
So they have an endowment fund.
Right.
But when they participate in our community priorities grants program, we do flow-throughs.
Flow-throughs, right. Okay, got it. So it's like the fund was established first, the flow-through was another option, or?
The flow-through is just additional funds, right?
Got it.
So they're building an endowment, but they have extra money that they're giving away annually.
Got it. And the flow-through amount, that could come from, again, let's say we have our fund and there's $50,000 in it or whatever the number is. And then we come up that here's another $10,000 that 5 other Rotarians put in $2,000 a piece. They'll each get their $2,000 receipts. We got this $10,000 that it'd be dispersed then through the flow-through method, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
That's an option. Yeah.
All right. So I understand that. The only thing I can see without being a registered charity, and I understand the challenges to get registered and to stay registered, but the only thing I think that might be an advantage for Rotary is if we were a charity and we needed to buy something, infrastructure for us, like, we need to buy a Wizzy sound system for $10,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
as a charity, our own charity, we could write a check for that and that would be fine. If it
Yep.
was at the community foundation, because we're not a qualified donee, the community foundation couldn't fund us on that though.
We cannot write you a check without a CRA number. However, Rotary Canada has a CRA number.
Right.
And we've done work with them previously.
Got it. Okay, so then it would have to flow to Rotary Canada to come back to the Rotary Club of Lethbridge, right?
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Now, a little bit off topic, but you would we were chatting about the soup kitchen, and you know, you saw that Rotary did our little fundraiser on that, and that's been good. We had good uptake on it, so that's nice. But you got some breaking news about the community foundation. So tell us about that.
So on Sunday, the government of Alberta announced that it is putting $2 million in matching funds into the province of Alberta through 7 charities. So 5 community foundations, Grand Prairie, Edmonton, Calgary, Southwestern Alberta, and Southeastern Alberta, so Lethbridge and Medicine Hat, and then 2 United Ways, Calgary and Edmonton, I believe. And they chose us because we already have existing programs where we're fundraising for COVID-19 response and recovery. So anyone making a contribution to one of those 7 organizations, the government is looking at matching up to a maximum of $2 million across the province.
Got it. So that means go forward then, if we had whatever it was, 3,500 raised for the soup kitchen, even if soup kitchen was the ultimate beneficiary of that, like let's say, we don't know that, and you probably have a better sense than we do of what to fund and which are where the pain points that need to be satisfied. But even if that was the case, if we float it through the community foundation to specifically the COVID-19 fund is where it would have to go. And we put that same $3,500 in. If we got the full match from the federal government, well, then there'd be $7,000 coming into our community, correct, right? And of course, great. Okay, so I understand. So I think that whatever we do, we're probably going to want to change that up, I would think, but yes.
And that starts April 15th, tomorrow.
Yes.
All information will be on our website. April 15th to May 31st.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Cool. If we wanted to, the first part would be to set up the fund, because the flow through is kind of a secondary part if that's something that we wanted to pursue, right?
Correct.
So the first part would be establishing the fund. The second part that you'd need board approval if we wanted was for the flow through part.
Yeah. And I think
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just said, so there's just documentation you prepare that between the Community Foundation of Southwestern Alberta and Rotary Club of Lethbridge, and who signs that? The president of the Rotary Club, or?
Yeah, the president of the Rotary Club would sign that. So it's technically called a fund agreement, and it just lays out things like the name of the fund, what type of fund, so a donor advised fund, regulations for us, because as I mentioned earlier, we can only grant to a CRA registered charity, so that's in the agreement, just so that all parties understand. So you can't phone me up one day and say, hey, it's Alan and I'd like to pull $3,500 from this fund. Like, it would be things like, we need minutes or a signed letter from the president of Rotary, just as a fraud prevention.
Wait a second, you're saying if I came to you with my briefcase and said, I want...
That's right, Alan. I know you. That just protects you, and it protects us.
Of course, makes good sense, right? Yes. No, yeah. I get it. Okay. Well, I think I understand it. We're having a board meeting tomorrow night. We're hoping to get that resolved tomorrow night. And it makes sense to me that we would set up a fund with Community Foundation. I think way simpler, still achieve the effect and create an actual legacy, right? You know, that we have an endowment there. So I think that all makes good sense, but I'm only one person on the board, so we'll see what the rest of the board members say.
And I think some of the things to talk about too is that if you're talking about the legacy, you know, Rotary has how many members? There are tax benefits to leaving a charity a gift in your will. So there's a tax benefit to your estate. So that money isn't going to your family. It's either going to CRA or to the charity of your choice. Right. So you promote it that way to your members. Maybe they're making annual contributions, but they also can do something in their will. That's how your fund will really grow. Right? Sure. We receive requests all the time. And then the tax receipt goes to the estate of the deceased.
Right. Makes sense. And I'm sure you already have, you're not at liberty to say, but you have individual Rotarians who have their own funds and who have a bequeathment in their will coming back to the community foundation, right? That
Yeah.
it's done. The people who are very advanced in their financial planning
Yeah.
see the value in that, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And people are really, with COVID-19, are writing wills. The legal system is allowing people to write their wills and sign them online instead of actually having to be with their lawyer, right? There have been all sorts of changes because so many people are so suddenly going, I better make a will, or I better
Right.
change my will, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm happy to come forward again and answer any other questions Rotary has. I know it's always a big decision. A lot of people get confused about, why would we leave money invested? Why wouldn't we just spend it, right? That's the legacy piece, that's the perpetuity. So, you know, I look at where this community foundation is with our investments, and gifts that were made 50 years ago are still contributing to our community today.
Right.
Which is
Right.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, no question.
Yeah, it really is. That's why we can respond to COVID-19
Yes.
and do something good here.
Yeah. Cool. Charlene, it is a pleasure
Oh.
chatting with you again.
You as well.
And keep yourself well, and we will talk to you soon.
Yeah, good luck. And let me know if you need any information or questions or just how it goes.
I certainly will. Keep well.
Okay. You
All right.
too. Take care, Alan.
See ya.
Bye.